All right. If everything went well, we have the stream started, and today is another fantastic day on Everything Outside Code, where we talk to amazing founders, business professionals, and GTM experts about I like to say, the really hard parts of building anything tangible, building a product. Um, and today I have Sam with me. Sam is marketing and business development director. I'm just reading off what I see on the screen here, but I'm going to let Sam do the honors uh, in a bit. Sam is coming from Rocketphone at AI, somewhere out in the UK, definitely with better weather than Norway, where I'm seated. Sam, you want to say hello first before we jump in?
Yeah, hey everybody, and thank you very much, William, for having me on. This is my first kind of podcast appearance, so hello world. Excuse my incompetence if it shows through, but I'm absolutely delighted to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, William. I can confirm that it's not great weather. It is cold and dark outside.
Oh, well, brothers in bad weather at the moment, and because it's cold here. But thank you so much for coming on, Sam. And yeah, for the live streams as well, I'm winging it, so super not professional, I would say. But we do have a number of people hang out on these streams in the comments. So if you do have any comments, leave them. I would love to. We'll take them. Today we're going to be talking about the blend of sales and marketing. Most teams I've seen, they sort of start out with one or the other, typically depending on what product motion, as I like to call it, their GTM or go to market motion. If they're product led, I often see they start with a marketing team and then they morph into setting up a sales team. And for some that are sales led, they start out with a sales team and then they decide, oh, we want to have like a marketing team to grow the brand and maybe open up a self service option. But we've seen teams like Hubspot, like I said in my post, that do like a fantastic job with sales and marketing. I've also I work at Hackmamba, where our sales and marketing team, when we work in a cohesive manner, we make magic. So today we're going to be talking about all that. How does it work? What are some of the things to look out for? If you're a founder out there, how do you actually start synergizing? It's an interesting word. Actually start building synergy between your sales and your marketing team. But first, to the man of the moment, Sam. You can tell us a bit about yourself, some origin story, how you got here, not how you got to the podcast, but how you got to Rocket Phone, that AI for sure. Over to you, Sam.
Yeah, certainly. So I've been part of Rocketphone my entire working life really. I'm co-founder at Rocketphone.ai, and it started almost as a university spin out from my point of view, from the University of Southampton. Where I met my co-founder Mush Chowdhury, who at the time was a director at Salesforce UK, helped grow out the UK and European business for Salesforce, and was there a good decade and turned it into the behemoth that it is today. And we recognized that there's a gap in the market in terms of a voice solution for Salesforce. That wasn't really making the most of the new and up and coming technologies for around AI, and certainly real time AI capabilities. It's all very well listening to conversations after they've happened, but there's a lot that you want to do during a conversation, and so we wanted to build a voice platform that addressed that. But we'll come on to Rocketphone a bit later, I'm sure. But about me, so yeah, at the beginning, as with any startup, there is no defined roles. You kind of just have to you just put on different hats all the time, and try and do what you can to figure out to get stuff done. Really get shit done, if you excuse my language. It's
Yeah.
basically the attitude you have to adopt right at the beginning. And
Hmm.
so the notion of, like, my job title here is marketing and business development director. That's only come about recently. You can only kind of adopt these titles when you have a bit more of a team. You actually have a processes behind you. Right at the beginning, it's just figuring it out. So yeah, the start of my career and at Rocketphone was just about doing everything to build a startup. Operations, HR, fundraising, finance, legal, product, and yeah, doing all that to figure out at the beginning. It was do all that to source some investment, and then once you've got investment, you can start hiring your engineering team and things like that. And only recently has been able to say, right, now I can don my marketing and biz dev hat. So that's we've been kind of going to market as a motion for about a year now, which has been really exciting. So not a vast experience of sales and marketing. Certainly not. I haven't touched enterprise. I've only known my world in Rocketphone, but I've learned a lot. So happy to share some of the learnings we've made on the way and talk about what's worked for us.
Yeah, I think the best university for sales is just jumping right in. Just selling, right?
Yeah.
You could read, like, I stumble on like LinkedIn, for instance, and I see like so many sales and marketing tips, and for some of them they're good, and for some, and I'm like I don't think this person has sold anything yet or tried this a lot. They just give tips. It's not practical. It doesn't seem like it.
There is so much noise out there, and some of it is useful, certainly. But there's a lot of the noise coming from people who just, I guess, are services business. That they're agencies or whatever, and some of those tips can work better for that. But for a hardcore product company, a lot of those tips you see on Salesforce, they don't apply, and a lot of it you have to figure out what works for your own specific company.
Yeah, I can imagine. A bit of like digress. How is it like starting and running a business in the UK?
I mean, I can only speak for the UK. I can't benchmark it against any other country. But certainly when we started, there's a decent amount of support around it. Luckily, I was in a position where I could kind of take that punt. I didn't have to go out and find a well-paying job immediately. So to have that kind of safety net behind you, I think, unfortunately, you do need that to make that punt into starting a business. But things like support, so like R&D tax credits that you can get, which kind of negates some of your engineering cost, is very helpful. That's a very handy initiative. The EIS and SEIS investment scheme. So I advise any business out there registered in the UK to go and get yourself SEIS and EIS accredited, and that basically makes it easier / even cheaper for investors to invest in your company because they get certain tax breaks through that mechanism. So that's also a nice mechanism set up to make it easier to get money into your business, because if you're making enterprise software, which we are, if you're making an enterprise product, bootstrapping is hard. So you will always need an element of investment coming through. We made a conscious decision that we didn't want to take VC money, certainly not for the time being. We wanted to maintain a lot of founder control, because to have the direction that we want to put in, and have that flexibility in terms of like cap table. So that has its good things, but that also makes it harder because you're constantly having a mindset of having to fundraise constantly. That you have to keep that tap running. That has its challenges as well. But on the whole, it's been challenging, but I think there's enough entrepreneurial spirit in the UK to make it as easy as it can. Whether it's easy or not in something like California, don't know, but it's no small undertaking, but it's a ride.
Okay, that's cool. I was just trying to get an idea of, like, in your opinion, if it was if you'd consider it seamless or it's just like pain. But thanks for that.
Quite topically, we've had the budget announcement literally just a few hours ago in the UK, and so what in terms of affecting wannabe entrepreneurs and founders, we've obviously had the increase in capital gains tax, which does curb one's enthusiasm for taking the risk to start a business. If ultimately, when you get to that successful exit, if it happens, you now having to give a lot more back to HMRC. I haven't got a problem with tax per se, but the capital gains tax rising so much that it does dampen one's spirit to say, yeah, I will take that punt. But anyway,
Yeah.
that's new from today. It's yet to see how that'll wash out in reality. But yeah, that's something that I have a concern about how it will affect the entrepreneurial spirit in the UK.
Huh. Okay, that's cool. I'm definitely going to check that out. So I looked up like Rocket Phone
Yes.
and I looked at the landing page and it's like a lot of stuff. Basically, it just says, hey, I'm going to make anyone a better salesperson. But I want to hear
Uh-huh.
it in your own words. What's Rocket
Okay,
Phone? What's the idea behind it? What problems are you looking to solve?
so our mission is to be the number one conversation processing platform for all enterprise. Now that's quite a grand vision, and
Okay.
what we mean by that is, or as a starting point, we're we're a telephony system. We're a phone system that sits within your CRM. In this instance, Salesforce is the CRM that we integrate with first and foremost. Huge ecosystem. Merged our founder has a background in Salesforce, so that made logical sense to start there. But there's many phone systems out there that integrate with Salesforce. What we wanted to do is focus on what we could capture from conversations in real time as they were happening. Because to use the analogy of a coach on a football team, you can only talk to your team at halftime or after the match. What if you
Yeah.
could actually kind of be in their ear and offer assistance and guidance and change behaviors on the fly? Surely that's going to make a difference in performance. And taking that analogy to phone conversations, customer support, or sales, if you can be offering assistance and guidance to reps in real time, the outcomes are going to be better. So that's what we built. We built a phone system, but underpinning that is a voice processing platform that operates in real time. We ingest the conversation, transcribe, clean up, do our conversation intelligence analysis on it, and recognize, oh, there's a buying signal. Oh, there's a complaint. Oh, they've asked a question that you weren't sure about. Here's a knowledge article that help answer that. So that's what we're doing on the real time angle. But also we're trying to connect the dots of general conversation capture. So another product we
Mm-hmm.
have is Rocket Cell, which is a cellular network that we've built. It's an eSIM that you install on your device. So for the first time, mobile calls, which is big for field sales and field service, for the first time, mobile calls are being logged, recorded, transcribed, and have our intelligence layer applied to that and passed into Salesforce completely automatically. And that's a brand new product. No one else in the world can
Oh,
do that. So that's
wow.
something we're quite impressed with.
Yeah.
But
And
yes,
then once I see a product that goes to like the infrastructure layer, so you go my application, you're like, I'm going to touch like hardware in some way and control like all of the value chain. I think that sort of like makes sense. And with this eSIM, would it function normally? So would you use this outside of like a prospecting or a business development context? Can you use it normally?
well, yeah, you can do. Yes, it's as any other business network out there. It can be used,
Yeah.
and there's a school of thought that we have that, okay, how can we do this to I don't know, like maybe as a tool to help protect children or help protect vulnerable adults or things like that, from some people that might have nefarious
Yeah.
conversations with them. It, we're
Oh.
there at that barrier perhaps to stop things happening,
Hmm.
misselling or other potential issues. So there is that angle. But yeah, right now we're leading with it as a kind of biz dev or customer service tool.
Oh yeah, I think this is one of the best ideas I've heard like in a while. At least the practical usage of AI, I would say.
Well, that's what we're
Um,
trying to do. Like, there's a lot of noise about AI, especially around generative AI, which
mhm.
I see as just a reskinning of GPT. It's
Yeah.
that's not true AI. So we've always had the mindset of like, okay, yeah, we've got elements of using Open GPT in our product. Of course we do.
Mhm.
But at the core of it, we want to make sure that we're building proprietary, new, proper AI that contributes to our own IP that no one else can replicate. I think that's
Yeah.
how you make yourself resilient against potential .com burst that we might see with generative AI.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to that bust. I feel I feel it's gonna come. Maybe not as big as it.com, but at least we'll see
Something will
a lot
happen.
of the
Yeah.
noise. Yeah, I'll see a lot of the noise go down. People would actually look at like, is this valuable or not? Now we're in that experimentation phase where a lot of experiments going on. This is my opinion. Um, I'd love to talk more about sales and marketing and get your thoughts
Yes.
around that.
That's what we're here
Right.
for, isn't it?
Yeah. So tell me, how do you see sales and marketing teams working together? What's an ideal scenario in your opinion? Maybe what a workflow looks like, or just an ideal setup for sales and marketing?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a very, very narrow lens, in my opinion, of this. I've only got the Rocketphone experience and my own experience,
Hmm.
and actually, I think you're right. Actually, in the content you're pushing out before this, the best way to describe it is Smarketing. You know, that there isn't a marketing department, there isn't a sales department. It's this, especially if you're leading with an outbound motion, which we are. It's that question of where do SDRs and BDRs fit? Is that a marketing function? Is that a sales function? Because if you picture the sales funnel, when you're a startup, no one knows who you are. So everything you're doing is at this awareness building stage of the sales
Yeah.
funnel, whether it's marketing or however you want to call it, if it's marketing or sales, you're both doing the same thing. You're making people aware, consider purchase. So I think, especially in the early days of the startup, um, there's no particular value in separating out the two. And I think for us, what's worked for us is starting, I guess, with traditional sales. Start with the outbound because we're an enterprise software product.
Hmm.
Product-led growth doesn't quite apply. We're not true click and go SaaS. There's a bit of configuration that we require. So that product-led growth version won't be as applicable to us. So we decided we need to go outbound first. And so that's a real considered push to getting an actual team of BDRs, prospecting outbound to our target or ICP, and that's where it ties into marketing. You've got to both be aware of what that ICP is. What is your defined ideal customer profile? So you set that. That's what your outbound motion focuses on. That's the list building. That's who you're prospecting. And I
Hmm.
advocate a tool like Rocketphone to help you do that. Probably, yeah. So then, once you've got that established, your outbound sales motion, that's your benchmark for growth. You will always have that little machine turning for your business, generating
Hmm.
business. And at that point, when that machine is built, and that's the point of where we're at now, we've built this outbound motion. Now we're layering in, I guess, what I'd call marketing. So now we're beginning to do PR. We're beginning to do lots of events. We're doing partnering with other people in the Salesforce ecosystem. But I think if we started the other way around, doing those things first, we'd be creating a lot of noise, but nothing actually translating down the pipeline. So do the
Yeah.
hard bit first, outbound, establish your motion, and then make that motion even easier by slowly introducing marketing elements,
Yeah.
such as however you want to do that. So that makes the outbound motion easier because you're establishing more awareness through your marketing. But what I don't think should be happening is all these cadence tools like Outreach or Sales Loft, things like that. They're making your outbound team a bit diluted, really. So they're trying to make organizations build out like multi-step cadences, 15-step cadences. Day one, email. Day two, LinkedIn request. Day three, phone call. Day four, email. It goes on and on and on. To
Yeah.
me, all you're doing there, it's you're multi-failing. You're just doing lots of little things badly. Outbound works when you're focused on one channel. And for us, we advocate obviously the phone. So, supported by other channels, so supported by a bit of LinkedIn outreach, supported by hyper personalized emailing, but just hitting yes on a cadence, and it's your emails fire off and your AI generated LinkedIn message goes off, and that doesn't work. So I think in that regard, marketing needs to absorb. If you want to do those activities, that should be marketing. Marketing does the automated outreach, the LinkedIning, the emailing, all those other activities. Your sales motion, your outbound team should be focused on one channel. We advocate voice, i.e. the phone, because they should be talking to customers. And then anything else can be a marketing domain. Don't try and conflate the two with your reps, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I've meandered quite a lot
Huh.
there, but that was just my
Yeah.
brain dump of what's been working for us.
Huh. This is an interesting take. So one question I have is, what's your objective with marketing at the moment? So if you have sales, if you need a foundation, you have pipeline
Yeah,
going, and you have that wheel spinning, why bring in marketing?
growth.
Okay, growth in what form?
Accelerated growth. So we're ticking along nicely with the outbound motion.
Mm-hmm.
Pipeline generating, deals are closing. That's great. So one
Yeah.
element, introduce marketing, that makes this job, the sales job, easier, because when they prospect out and they say, oh yeah, I'm from Rocketphone. Oh, Rocketphone, I've seen you guys about.
Yeah.
And that's where the marketing will come in. So that's how it supports. And if you've made sure that you've aligned your ICP properly, then you are going to be talking to exactly the same people, which is what you want. So the person A has seen a LinkedIn post, seen an article, been to an event where Rocketphone's mentioned, and then when our reps go and call them or prospect them, they say, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's that recollection. So that's what it's doing. But
Yeah.
equally, if you're doing lots of marketing, that also adds the element of potential for an inbound. So for us, now that we're introducing traditional marketing, that's all about accelerating growth now. So it's making the outbound motion easier, but also adding an element of inbound pipeline as well. And because we're focused on hyper growth now.
Yeah. And it seems, I guess, you started you started your point with the fact that you're enterprise. So
Yeah.
you go sales first and then marketing comes later. But do you think if you were maybe B2B, but not enterprise, so targeting SMBs or lower mid-market companies, it would be the other way around? And then when you're looking to go enterprise, you would go sales first? Or how do you envision that?
I would still do the sales motion first, simply because that's your quick wins. But
Okay.
what I do is I start both at the same time. Actually, if I was more of like a SaaS product, I'd start both at the same time. Get an outbound motion established very quickly, because that's your quick wins. Because anything you do with marketing will have a delay of 3, 6, 9, 12 months. So you have to have both at the beginning, because you need customers. So
Yeah.
so the quickest way to do that is with an outbound motion, and you have a lot of learnings there about what your customers actually want as well. So before you start spending a lot on PPC or digital marketing like that, you don't quite understand the pain points, who your customers are. You learn that best by talking. So I would say start both, especially if you're more like a traditional SMB SaaS product. Get your SEO in as well.
Okay.
Big SEO strategy, because you day one, 12 months later, you'll be inundated with leads.
Yeah, this makes sense. And for any of the founders listening or anyone listening, you've heard inbound and outbound. Basically, outbound is just you reaching out to folks that you feel have a problem and you can help them. And inbound is typically folks that have a problem reaching out to you. Obviously, by this definition, it means that folks that have a problem and reach out to you, that's very valuable, because at least they have a problem, or that's a very good signal. Those you reach out to, you have some inclination that they have a problem, but you're not sure if maybe they want to buy now. Whereas with inbound, there's like some buying intent. there. So that's sort of like my distinction between both. I want to get your thoughts, Sam, on how volume plays a part to outbound. So
Hmm.
we've established that outbound is great. Um, I don't think we could get into like the details of actually setting up like an outbound infrastructure. There are tons of videos and tons of processes. Personally, I also do not like the sequences you mentioned, like 15-step multi-channel, like multi-faceted like sequences where a prospect receives like 7 to 10 emails from the sequence. None of that. But with outbound, there are two approaches so far I've seen, at least from Hackmamba, which is you go with volume at first. It's like you're sending out like thousands of emails, or you go, I would say, like super small but very targeted, right? Where you have like an email list of 500 to 1,000, and for each of these folks, you can qualify or pre-qualify, and then you reach out to them uh, with some sort of like very relevant personalization. So not just personalize it to them, but also look at relevance. So does this make sense for them? Not personalizing them by mentioning the high school they they went to, right? So I want to get your thoughts on volume. Do you feel like having the first one with like a lot that sort of increases your surface, your surface area of like lock, or catching folks that are stealth, for instance, or going the other way, which is be very specific and try to reach people that you can qualify? Which would you lean towards?
I lean
What are your
towards
thoughts on both?
specific. Yeah, I lean towards specific because I think especially that volume is achieved easiest with email. But
Hmm.
the problems we've encountered with email is it's getting increasingly harder because of all the infrastructure work you have to do around it. You have you buying
Hmm.
multiple domains, getting them warmed up, making sure that your copy is not too spammy and things like that. We've not had a great much joy with email. So and the things with maths, you pick a job title that you think is relevant, and you get everyone in that list. But every company has a slightly nuanced definition of what a job title is. So what marketing and biz dev director means for Rocketphone is completely different for something else, and what you're selling
Hmm.
might not be under that person's remit, even though they have the same job title. So by having a more focused approach, you encourage you to say to do just a little bit, not huge amounts, but just a little bit of digging. You're like, is this person going to care about what I'm trying to sell? Do they have the pain point we're addressing? And I think at the beginning that can feel slow and frustrating, but once you've established that on a repeatable motion, the work that you've done 3 months ago will start to yield results. So at the beginning, it's frustrating, it's exasperating, it doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere. But what you're doing, you are building pipeline, and callbacks and interest, and then that approach from 3 months onwards holds a lot of value. So yeah, I think not hyper personalization. Don't spend an hour crafting an email or researching before you pick up the phone. That's silly. But have a broader list. Certainly, I think by account is better. So have your list of accounts. That
Hmm.
that's who you need to prospect, and then just spend a little bit of research. Who is the best person in that account, or the best three people in that account that might be relevant to the problem we're trying to solve, and then
Yeah.
prospect. That's how to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's why I agree with. I've seen different school of thoughts that says, send out as much as you can because you want to reach as many people that might have a problem. Right? It's not inbound. If it was inbound, then these people they have a problem and they're ready to buy. With outbound, again, you don't know if they're ready to buy, so you might as well just like reach everyone, and those that are interested or have a problem, they will they'll come
And
back.
then you're
But
relying on timing,
mhm,
aren't you? If you're doing maths, you're relying on, if I email 5,000 people, maybe 1% of them needs my
yeah,
solution at any given time. And
yeah.
you're relying on timing. But if you can do a slightly more personalized outreach,
Hmm.
timing, of course, still has importance. But if you can actually talk to someone and timing becomes less of an issue. Like you can, you can convince them that actually, no, you need this now, even though you
Yeah.
weren't thinking about it for 6 months. Think about this now because I've shown that we can give ROI on your specific problem.
Yeah, that makes sense. You can consider timing when you go a bit like narrower than
Yeah.
if you just go broad. But anyways, today is a pretty short stream. We've
Well,
typically come.
I'm happy to go a few more minutes. I'm enjoying talking.
Oh, that's fantastic. Then I guess the one thing that I want to ask as a final question would be for founders that want to start with
Okay.
outbound, right? Or they care about sales and marketing, so they've built something and they actually want to get at it. What's the first thing they should do? Would it be, or at least just to get your thoughts on, like, where do they start from?
Where do you start? I mean, I think you can always try and do founder-led sales. I think that's an important element. You're always going to have to be involved in the sales process yourself, but there's so many other things you need to be doing when you're building a company, that for us, I think you quickly become quite overwhelmed, and you're not doing one thing very well if you try and like focus on founder-led sales. So for us, that meant
Hmm.
actually going out and hiring BDRs, uh, to take some of that load off us, because prospecting is time consuming. It is difficult, and once you've exhausted your personal like network, as a founder, like what's the next step? You're going to have to make that step into a BDR role. So if you have the capital to do so, I would advocate to get 2 reps, 2 BDRs, because it's always good to have more than one, so you have benchmarking. Because you don't
Yeah.
know what good performance looks like until you have benchmarking in someone else.
True.
So at the very minimum 2, but don't just say, "There's your account list, go crazy." I cannot stress the importance enough of good tools, a good CRM, and most importantly, constant coaching and learning and development.
Okay.
Now, if you're able to give that to your reps, great. As a founder, great. And if you're not, invest in some external coaching. That is the biggest difference we've seen in performance, for our outbound motions before and after having continuous learning, continuous coaching. Um, it
Yeah.
was honestly hockey stick, before and after we've had that. So that's what I'd advocate. And then once your BDR team of 2 is probably after 3 months, they'd be then getting consistent amount of meetings booked, whatever you needed to do. And at
Hmm.
that point, if they've overwhelmed you as a founder with demos and meetings, that's when you get your AE hire in to start taking across the closing side of the deals as
Yeah.
well. What we found that didn't work is in the early days, we tried to get someone who could do the whole thing, like a full sales cycle role. So, I'm sure some people are capable, but what we found is that, again, you're just stretched too thin. You start
Hmm.
prospecting, and then as soon as you start trying to close deals, you stop prospecting, so your pipeline dries up. So I think for us, I'd always advocate that kind of traditional BDR AE split, I think,
Yeah.
and 2 BDRs, an AE is all you need to do to get to quite a substantial amount of ARR for your business, initially as well. But tools, good data, and coaching,
Yeah.
very important.
I think one of my buddies, Math, works at Salesforce as well. He'd be super like pumped to hear you talk about coaching
Yeah,
because he's talked to me about it uh, a lot, and I think that's something I've failed at because I'm like, I want to hire independent people that know their shit and they can do it, but then I forget that trends change, and until we're able to get like a sales manager that can actually take on coaching, it'd be nice to provide coaching to folks on the sales team, like BDRs as
hmm
well. So yeah, I'm certain he'll be very happy. I'm going to mention this to him actually. Something that you mentioned also was having 2 BDRs, never one. I forgotten where I saw that helps with like competition also,
Well,
right?
yeah,
Push
a little
them
bit of
forward.
that. I mean, you never want to create a boiler room. That's not healthy. But I think it's what it does help to establish what is good. If you have one reference point, you never know what truly good is. Good for that one person might be 10 meetings booked a month.
Hmm.
You don't know if that's good or bad. But if your
Yeah.
second BDR is doing 20, then okay, there's something we should be doing to get a bit more even ground. This needs to go up. So at the minimum two, I'd say. Ideally more, but obviously
Yeah.
you're always going to be stretched. But I think if you start with one, if you have to do that, but always try and do
Hmm.
two.
Yeah.
Hiring
Yeah.
separate twos.
Yeah, this makes sense. So two BDRs, one AE, and you can get to a million in ARR, and then you could move things
And
forward,
then it's
improve that.
that's your small little sales outbound motion established. And then if you've
Hmm.
done that properly, it's just a case of how many more do we
Yeah.
need? Yeah,
Hmm.
do that for 12 months. You know your close rate, you know your conversion rate. It becomes more of a maths equation. Like if we put in more BDRs here, that directly correlates to X revenue here.
Hmm.
That's where you want to get to. But that can
Yeah.
take 12, 24 months. But you got to start.
Yeah. How do you set success metrics, right? How do you know if the BDRs are performing, underperforming, or they are overperforming, or if they book 5 meetings each week, both of them start fine? How do you set success?
You're not really going to know until I think you have a team of 4 or 5, in all honesty. But yeah, I think if if you look at other metrics like how many actual conversations are they happening, having, how many actual accounts have they spoken to, and if you're satisfied on those things and they're still producing X meetings, then you say, okay, that probably is our benchmark. That probably is our
Yeah.
average. And then if that continues over the few months, you say, okay, well then a good BDR at Rocketphone produces 10 meetings per month. Yeah,
Hmm.
you do settle on what's good is pretty quickly. You'll always have extreme examples, but I think it's just a case of studying your other metrics like dials, conversations, um,
Hmm.
that kind of thing, and then you understand. Okay, yeah. To be fair, they are talking to a lot of people. They're having great conversations. That's just the nature of our product and our market. That means that equates to X meetings.
Yeah. Well, I guess once you bring on also like a sales leader at some point from a maybe similar product line or similar industry,
Then
you
they'll
sort
know
of
as well. Yeah, they're
yeah,
actually this is what's possible. So yeah,
yeah,
I mean, always to get that an external pair of eyes is also helpful as well.
yeah, that's true. So this is on the sales side. What about on the marketing side? What can founders do? Obviously, that's the founder first or founder led marketing
Mm.
where like the founder first has to be out there, talking about the product, championing the product. But what else? What else, in your opinion, has worked as well? I see you do a lot on LinkedIn, at least you're there sharing stuff. Your LinkedIn profile looks like super optimized as well.
Yeah, I
But
do try. I
what
mean,
else?
it's tough. I set out at the beginning of the year to post every day. I didn't. I haven't done that. I failed. So yeah, I do see people having success with LinkedIn. I don't think it necessarily applies for enterprise software. I think it applies to anyone who's doing more a service orientated business. I think it's good. It definitely works for that. I think the best thing you can do for founder led marketing is just um, be present in as many places as you can. So network, be on events, um, identify your core ecosystem that you want to be known in, and just go hell for leather in being present within that ecosystem.
Mhm.
In-person events, virtual events, webinars, latching onto other influencers within that ecosystem. Attach yourselves to that kind of activity. So kind
Yeah.
of ride on the coattails of other people, I would say, really, at the beginning. As much as you can, borrow other people's marketing in your identified ecosystem. So for us, that's Salesforce. So we do a lot of we're at a lot of Salesforce events. We're working with a lot of Salesforce influencers. So yeah, that would be my advice. Identify your ecosystem and just be as present as you can in there by riding other people's coattails.
Yeah, so that's a fantastic one. I say that to founders, find ways to collaborate, to partner on stuff, and yeah, that's definitely a good first start. Well, any last words on Rocket Phone? I mean, everyone that's listening to this, you have to check it out. It's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
no-brainer at this point.
if you are looking or have an outbound sales motion and you're wondering what channel to use the phone and use Rocketphone. But otherwise, yeah, just all the best out there to anyone. It's what I've said may not work, but that's for you guys. That's my insights on what's working for Rocketphone. I hope it's been valuable. Please give me a message on LinkedIn if you want to pick my brains further, by all means. Apparently I've got an
Yeah.
optimized LinkedIn, so see what you guys think of my profile. But yeah, pleasure to talk, William. Hope my ramblings have made sense.
Yeah, these have been perfect. For anyone that's trying to find you on LinkedIn, it's Sam Gillingham.
There it is. Yes, there it is.
Yeah, yeah, they could definitely find you. But this has been a fantastic stream, and thanks for everyone that tuned in, and thanks Sam for coming on. And that's today's episode of Everything Outside Code. Cheers.
Brilliant.